tonight. Welcome to the Housecast. Once again, we're recording like there's no tomorrow. We're really enjoying it. We've got a fantastic guest on tonight. We've got three of us who are hosting and presenting this. I'm Jez, ex-Lowerhouse player. We've got Joe Beneducci with us, first captain to win the Lancashire League with Lowerhouse. How you doing, Dooch?
All right, thank you, Jez. How are you?
Yeah, we're fine. Yeah, we're the weather's helping out massively. Anything more to report from your usual walks and the odd game of golf?
I bumped into another House super fan this week.
All right,
Paul Hargreaves. He's listened to the podcasts and enjoying them. So a shout out to Paul.
Yeah, brilliant. That's good. And there has been, I mentioned it now, we've had a lot of feedback from various people. The vast majority of it is really good, and I'd like to keep encouraging that feedback. If people think that the show's too short, or if you think it's too long, then please holler, and we'll try and maybe reduce them a little bit or put them into two parts. But it's good to hear. We've also got Gary Morehouse down on the south coast. How are you going, Gaz?
Yeah, great, Jez. Thanks. Yeah, back to work today. So bit of a dilemma with an online shop. Supposed to be 150 quid's worth of food rocking up, and we got about 40 quid's worth. So the tea were interesting.
Oh, I bet. I'm sure you mustered something together.
Well, the 40 quid was all the cleaning products.
Oh, crap. You could make
So I've done a Donald Trump and drunk a bit of bleach. Don't do that at home, listeners.
Good lad. Joe Martin, you're with us now. You're working so hard. I've been noticing. How you going, Joe?
I'm all right. Yeah, not too bad. I mean, if you could enlighten me on what I'm working hard on, that'd be great. I'm all right. Yeah, not too bad.
Every time we try to give you a little task or something, you tell me you're working. I'm at school. So
yeah, well, that's finished now.
Right. Anything else to report? How's Paddy's guitar lessons going?
Really well. We're on to Hey Soul Sister this week, so I think that's a bit more. I think it's a bit more pop folky. Might put a waistcoat on to sing that one.
That'd be good. If you and Paddy, at the end of this podcast and the end of the lockdown, could do a duo, that would be dynamite.
Well, I guess there are plans in place. Why we could do some kind of we could do some kind of recording. I might even get dressed in an old James Bond outfit, belt one out from top of the steps.
Thank you to our three sponsors for supporting our podcast. John Russell's Art Caterers and Milltown Pies, who offer fantastic catering services, Alexander Grace Law, who provide modern and client-led legal services, and SBE Furnishings, who offer high-quality furnishings and electrical items at fantastic prices.
Young Joe Martin, I can't wait. Anyway, now on to our guest. This evening's guest is an ex-Lancashire Cricket Club professional cricketer. He's a fantastic friend at Lowerhouse. He's played for us for 82 games. After his first-class career ended, he scored nearly 700 runs and 90 victims in that period. Played for Lancs for a fair old period. So tonight's guest, ladies and gents, is the one and only Chris Scott. How are you going, Scotty?
I'm all right, thanks, Jez. Nice to be here. Nice to speak to you all.
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks so much for coming on, Chris. We really appreciate it, and we're doing this for a bit of a laugh and a bit of a joke, and we're inviting lots of people on, and we're so honoured at the various ex-pros, ex-cricketers that are coming on, and to get someone like you on is fantastic. But, we're doing it on Zoom, and we're getting them out there because not a lot of people are working, and, because of this terrible pandemic that's at the moment. I know that it's affected you personally, Chris. How are you coping? How are you with the COVID and your family?
Yeah, well, personally, my daughter tested positive a few weeks ago now. Fortunately, her symptoms were fairly mild, so she was okay. But a very good friend of mine and a former colleague, unfortunately, passed away, aged 56. Person I've known for over 30 years, and I know you knew him as well, Jez, very well. And I was working with him. We travelled backwards and forwards to Preston together every day, and he passed away on the 8th of April, Dave Groombridge. And it's really hit me for six, and it sort of hit it home. I think in the beginning, like most people, it was it was something I didn't really get my head around right away. I thought it was for people who were older, who had underlying symptoms, but unfortunately, Dave, he was a very fit man for his age, especially, and it just got him, and he was unable to cope with it. So it's been really sad, Jez, and it's affected me in quite a big way, to be honest.
Yeah,
and, I'll just reiterate the message: just look after ourselves and follow the rules. I know they're easing a little bit now, which is good news, but listen to what's being said and follow the advice that's being given. It's obviously very important.
It's so sad, is that, Chris? Yeah, you and Dave Hindle, a good friend of ours, worked with groomers for a while, and you say he was never connected to the club. We used to play those old CID games on Thursday evenings down at the club, and I remember groomers coming down and playing a few of those games. Couldn't play cricket for toffee, but
no.
Came down and played.
But he was a real good guy, one of life's good guys. He always tried that bit extra for the people, the victims of crime in our town here, our town of Burnley. He always went that bit extra, Jez, and he'd be sadly missed. Not just by us, but obviously by his family, as well as his wife and daughter.
Yeah, absolutely. And and our thoughts, obviously, for what it's worth on the Housecast, go out there, and I really appreciate you putting it out there, Chris. People will listen, and I'm sure they will have the same thoughts that we're having. Chris, we just want to go on to now, a bit of a lighter note, and we're here now to try and make things a bit easier for certainly Lowerhouse cricket fans, and there's so many people listening to these podcasts now, and I can see them walking around the countryside in this great weather, giggling to themselves about what's going on. We have a little bit of a build-up as we get to the cricket club, and I think it's important to say, so many people from the club knew you and appreciated you playing, but I'm not sure people really knew, what a great player you were, and also what you'd done prior to coming to Lowerhouse. I did some research today. You played 75 games you were signed in 1975 for Lancs as a schoolboy. You played till 1982. You played 46 games. You had over 100 victims. Yeah. Can you just give us a brief resume about how you, from 14, 15, how you got into pro cricket, how you and a few little stories about that?
Yeah, of course I can. Well, I'll take you through it, and you can make what you will of it, Jez, but, take out the bits that we don't need. But at primary school, it started as a 11-year-old. I was a school goalkeeper for the football team. And in the summertime, we decided our fourth-year teacher was going to have a cricket team. We were going to have a cricket side at the primary school. And because I was in goals, he said to me, you go behind the stumps. Now, as you know, I was quite tall for a keeper. I'm 6 foot, which is, it's on the tall side. But I certainly not now. But then I was quite a slim guy then, and obviously I was only 11 at the time, and I was quite agile, being a goalkeeper. So that was pure and simple. There was no cricket anywhere in my family. My father played football. I had uncles who played rugby. No family members had ever played cricket. So he shoved me behind the sticks, and I just took to it like a duck to water. I used to stand up to the bowlers at 8-11. We got to the final. Sorry, Jez. We got to the final of the primary schools competition. This is in Swinton, in Greater Manchester, between Manchester and Bolton. We won this final, and it was played at the local cricket club, Clifton Cricket, which are in the Bolton Association. And they spotted me, and they asked me to go down. And I went down there as a junior, aged 11. So that's how it began. Right. And then from there, the Clifton Juniors, then we had a good young side. We played in a competition which then was called the Lord's Taverners, and it was 8-a-side. So this is back in the early 70s, so it's an awful long time ago. But it was 2 batsmen batted as pairs. I think there's still the same kind of format goes on now in junior. And whatever runs you scored, you divided by how many times you were out to give you a score, and we managed to get to an all-England. We played at Old Trafford in a regional final, the junior Clifton under-13, and we got to the national final, and we actually won it. And because I was a bit flashy and a bit showy-offy, I got a lot of stumpings, and won the kind of man of the series, the player of the series, of the finals. Yeah. So that was me kind of on my road then.
And so Clifton, we've known each other a long time, Chris. I didn't realise that. So there's no one really pushing you. You've not got parents or...
No. What I will say about my parents, Jez, is I come from, a hard-working family like most of us. Most at Lowerhouse are. We're all hard-working families, aren't we? And my parents, my dad and mum, they worked, bless them, but they didn't have a lot of money. And back in those days, I was, it's quite an expensive sport to take up. It still is. But certainly then, when money was tight in the 70s and jobs were tight, and my parents really struggled to make sure, because I progressed from there into the England schoolboy set at 15. And of course, I was going away playing with lads who were public schoolboy background, some of them who were quite wealthy people. And my parents, bless them, I don't know how they ever managed just to get me a pair of pads or pay for a blazer was an expensive thing back in there, And, I'll never forget what they did for me. But they didn't push me as such, but they always supported me. I'd say that's to say about it.
I mean, that's come back now, Chris. I looked you up on Wikipedia, and I've looked at other places, and I'd completely missed that. You were in the England setup, weren't you? Right up to.
Was. I captained England under 15s. I first came against Stan actually in schoolboy cricket,
right.
And we've had a rivalry ever since. I met Stan. I didn't obviously know him at that time, but in about 1974, he's a year older than me, Stan, and I know he looks a lot older than me, but
Chris, a lot older.
Yeah, in his ways and in the way he looks as well. But we played against one another. Stan represented North Lancashire schools under 15, and I represented South Manchester schools. I have a scorecard somewhere with our names in. So I go back a long way with Stan. Yeah, so I managed to be noticed again, showing off really. I used to think I was Alan Knott, with my collar up and diving about. And,
yeah, I do remember.
You remember those days? Yeah.
Yeah.
And, and I got noticed. So, that's how it all started. Sorry to divert you away there, Jezza.
No, Chris, that is ideal. That's taken us to a good point, because there are, and again, I don't want to do too much talking here, Chris. I want you to tell us the stories. But I think it's worth saying at this point, and I think it was Paul Stanley that mentioned it to Joe Beneducci, that, Chris, as a player and as a member of the dressing room, was one of the most motivational and funniest people we'd ever played with. And I really can confirm that you're out in the field, you were completely different to the other amateurs we played with. You were different to the pros because they were getting paid, obviously. They had a big responsibility.
Weren't they?
Yeah, they were. And they were, a lot was relying on them. But sections of the game that you would just do something or you'd say something, you think, crikey, you can see where that ability's come from. And then I would also go on to what happened in the dressing rooms. I was, probably at my pomp a little, I'm probably 23, 24, 25, 26 when you were playing. So I was really keen to get out there and play. But I've never felt, it's going to rain today or it's raining. I can't wait to get in the dressing room because Scotty will start singing, he'll start telling his stories, he will tell, and those things have stuck with me forever. So I'd like to just move on, probably 15, 20 years and just talk about an incident, and we will come back to the Lancashire and, the time you had at Lancashire, the stories that you've got there. But we had a guest on a couple of weeks ago who was singing your praises, but also talking about you long and hard. And he was Stan Heaton. And he mentioned about a game at East Lancs. I was captain for that year. I'd only just joined the police, and I obviously couldn't get off the East Lancs away. Do you want to give us your version of what happened there, Chris?
Yeah. I mean, I will say I didn't captain Lowerhouse an awful lot, but I never lost a game as captain.
That's
so
right.
Throw that in. And I'd like to think that, I was quite a positive individual. I had demons, there's no doubt about it. In my mind, I did. I had these demons drop over me. And I think most of us, any of us, or a lot of us talking here will know that, because it is a battle sometimes. It's as much a battle with yourself as it is with the game at times, in most sports, certainly in our game. But that particular game, we were at East Lancs, beautiful ground there, as we all know, and a big crowd. And they were a good side then. They were top of the tree or near enough. And of course, we were little Lowerhouse, and we'd give anyone a game, but we didn't always come out on the right side, as you know, Jez. We went through lack of trying and lack of effort, but we never, we sometimes just didn't quite get there. And we were playing at East Lancs, and I think we batted first from memory. I think Dodders were pro. Tony Doddermaid was pro. Yeah. It might have been Cameron, but I think it was Dodders. And I said to Stan, before we went out to field, I think we had a competitive score. And I said to Stan, you've been captain of this club. I'm going to be busy, with me keeping, and I'm keeping my hand things. We just come at first slip, stand at first slip. and keep your eye on things in case I miss anything, or you might want to, you know. And I said, I'm relying on you, Stan. I'm relying on you to be there. And Stan said, yeah, of course, Scotty, of course. So I had him at first slip. The big following from Lowerhouse. And they were at the, as you come out of the dressing room, they were on the sight screen side on the left of the ground, behind the bowler's arm. Quite a big following, as we always do from the house. And so Stan's at first slip and everything's going all right. But for some reason, I couldn't catch the ball. The first few overs, the ball was hitting me on the chest. I couldn't throw an overcoat on it. It was that bad. It was flying through past me. I was having a nightmare. And as I mentioned earlier, I was getting a bit wound up about this, letting myself down, letting the team down. When Stan, being Stan, he just wandered across to me from first slip and said, Scotty, with his hand on his chin, he said, do you mind if I make a suggestion? Which was probably the wrong thing to say at that particular time. I mean, 4 bars just shot through me. And I turned on him. I won't use the language I use, but I put him in his place. I said, suggestion. I said, I'll make a suggestion. F off down to third man. I don't want to see you again. And he looked at me like stunned, you know, like he does. Yeah. And I said, F off down to third man. Yeah. I don't want to see you again for the rest of the afternoon. You can stay there. Yeah. And I can remember just my temper in the heat of the moment. You know, I felt bad later, obviously, but I can just remember a few balls later, catching the ball and I just happened to glance around, and Stan's turned into our supporters with his arms out, saying, "You don't know what I've done."
Oh, fantastic! I mean,
and he never let me forget it. He never let me forget. But we won the game.
Yeah.
And, I did manage to catch a few later on, and I think I did kiss and make up with him later on. But
I mean, that's similar, very similar to what Stan has said.
Stan's memory.
He would always chat to the fans. Would Stan? But you know, that was one of a lot of memories between you and Stan. So Stan's going to come into the room now.
Oh, you're joking?
No, but it'll be fine.
Are we falling out?
I'll be falling out. We'll manage it.
I mean, we're good friends, me and Stan. You know, we are. What I need to do. Of him. I love him. And what he's done with you lads there with the house.
It's fantastic. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let him in now. All right, so I'll just.
As long as you don't bring the barmaid in from Cattle Market later on. I don't want none of that. It's a family show. I'll have none of that.
The only issue here, Scotty, is Stan is rubbish at technology. This will in 10 minutes to up. No, he did not connect.
Do you know when you did the one with Curtie?
Yeah.
Asad? How was he with the computer then? Were he fine with it?
No, it took him forever to get in. And then he said the password was wrong. And then all of a sudden just appeared.
I've given him a whole set of instructions. I wrote them out in block capitals.
Scotty, yeah. There's also a running theme with Stan about how he's run loads of players out over the years.
Yeah.
And I was looking through your games previously, and there's a game where we played Baker at home. You batted at 8, he batted at 6, and it was close. We lost by two runs, but you were run out. And you'd have been batting with him at the time, I would have thought, look at the scorecard. Yeah. So even if you can't remember, or even if it weren't his fault, will you make some of it up?
Yeah, of course I will. Yeah, he's here now, isn't he?
He's on mute.
He's on mute.
All right.
Will someone text him?
Right,
there we go.
Oh, he's sorted it.
Hello, lads.
Hey there, Stan.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
There he is.
Yeah. Can you bloody believe it?
Right, can I just, again,
Jesus.
Connected twice, Stan.
Dave, I'll have to ring you back. I'm on a podcast.
That'll be a title, I think, won't it?
That's going to be a jingle.
Stan, leave it, Stan, leave it connected. Just have a chat with you. We won't record it. Honestly.
I think I can unmute him.
You can.
With us.
Am I there? Am I on?
You're on.
Hey, Stan.
Listen, do not put that on because it could lead to gross violence. I tell you what, this is battle of the foreheads, isn't it? Tell you what, I knew them footpaths when they were, or should I say, I knew them motorways when they were a footpath.
Nicky and Charlie, Frank and Stan got stuck in a waterloo. Charlie tossed one in the air and Frankie followed through.
Right, everyone. Scotty, I know you think we probably hijacked you here, but we've got a secret guest. Welcome, Stan Heaton. Stan, how you going?
Good evening, everybody. You'll have to forgive me. I am a quadruple dark rum and coke, a large glass of red wine, a small glass of sherry, and 2 Dissaronos into the evening. So I hope I can hold it together.
Yeah, I'm sure you can, Stan. We've got Chris Scott on. He can't wait to have a chat with you. What have you got to say to Scotty?
Chris, it's absolutely great to hear from you and to see you. I've just been watching your propaganda programme on the television, the anti-government propaganda show known as 24 News. No doubt you've been absolutely rubbing your thighs in delight at the stuff they're coming out with, anti-Boris. No doubt we'll get onto that subject because we normally do.
I'm sure we will. Scotty, how do you want to welcome Stan in 1 minute?
Well, hiya Stan, it's good to see you. We go back a long way, don't we, pal? And you're the reason I ended up playing for Lowerhouse, if you remember. But apart from the fact you used to run me out on a regular basis, including at Bake Up one time.
That's because you never moved your feet. It's like Morehouse. Never moved his feet.
We can't see you, Stan. I'm not sure that's a bad thing.
This is Moto E, whatever that means.
Pale white, good brown hair.
Right, we can't see you, but we can hear you.
You see, Joe Benedict's got a little
Turn the camera on.
Stan, is your camera on?
Yeah, let me have a go. I keep getting host is disabled, participant screen sharing. You nasty thing. Join audio. Well, you can hear me. I keep getting Moto E3 up, which I think my mobile is interfering with me. So are you at services? I'm going to turn off the big screen and rely on my mobile.
Okay, I can't see anything how I can let you in. Let's have a look at participants.
It's down. It'll be Stan's needs to click.
Well, I'll tell you what, Joe. That's stereotyping. And looking at your hair, I'm going to be the only one with a head of hair in the next.
Yeah, it's not showing Stan with any video. Let's.
Right. Well, I can see everybody else.
Right.
So, Stan, if you tap on this, if you click on it, then you should get a menu up at the bottom that says Start Video.
Well, Gaz, I'm actually on my computer, which hasn't got audio for big fit, and I'm on my mobile, which has got both. What am I tapping?
Well, if you're on your mobile, if you tap the screen, you get a menu up at the bottom.
Yes, I have. Start Video. That was crossed out. There's something different every time.
It's good to see you embracing technology anyway, Stan.
Scotty, don't you stop. I'm surprised you Luddites, you socialist Luddites, I'm surprised you allow technology. Am I in?
Yeah, we can see you.
We can see you, we got you.
Cheers, everybody. Dissaronos.
Cheers.
Class.
So we've now got Stan Heaton in. Stan and Chris, I was in the dressing room with them for a number of years. What characters, the only way I could describe them, fantastic mates that fell out constantly. Non-stop bickering, arguing, fighting about the minuscule little things to the biggest, the main political incident that was going on at that time. What I want to do, Stan, is welcome to Scotty's podcast, and let's remember it is Scotty's podcast. We'll just talk through a little bit with Scotty's life at Lancashire. He's talked to us about how he got there, playing at Clifton, born in Swinton, getting there with just sheer hard work and ability. So, Chris, you've got into Lancashire, you're getting yourself established. You're good at playing second team.
Yeah, 15 when I made my debut for the second team. 15.
Brilliant. Just talk us through the transition.
That was at Urmston against Northumberland. And I was frightened to death, but I managed to do okay. And then I left school. I didn't do brilliant at school, but fortunately they offered me a contract, and I went straight from school to Old Trafford. I was on the staff as a young kid, 16-year-old. And I was lucky enough to make my debut at 17. I played at Oxford University in May. That would be May 77. I was 17. And at that time, the youngest wicketkeeper to play. I think probably still am, but certainly at that time I was the youngest keeper to play.
Right.
The problem I had, Jez, as you know, with my batting was never up to it, if I'm honest. I could block for England, but I couldn't score a run, And so it was all very well when my keeping was going well and I was doing okay, which I was, from my schoolboy career into the first team and on the edges of the first team, the keeping was going well. But when it wasn't going so well, which happens when you're playing regularly, you have off days, I didn't get the runs to be able to pull myself around, and I think that ultimately was the issue with myself and why I didn't play for longer than I did. I don't think the keeping was ever the issue, really, if I say so myself. It was the fact I was a bit of a liability with the bat, really. And it was at that time when keepers needed to be a bit more than just a keeper. It was becoming, like they are now, all-rounders, an important role.
Yeah, so you're talking there late 70s, you're breaking into the first team, getting yourself, established. And, we all understand what you're saying about the batting side of it. But the bottom line is, you're there as the first class wicketkeeper at Lancashire. Yeah. What other players were playing then? Well,
when I joined the staff, Farouk Engineer had been released that year, the year before. So I came on when I was getting established was 77. Farouk finished end of 76, and John Lyon was the first team keeper. And as Joe knows, and as we all know, being a keeper, it's me. There's 2 on the staff, maybe 3. So if he gets injured, it's like a goalkeeper in here. The number 1 choice gets injured, you're in with a chance of playing. And that's basically what happened. But it was John Lyon, if you remember him, he was a St Helens lad who became first choice when Farouk left. He's unfortunately passed away now as John, but he was a good guy, quiet guy, good keeper, very neat and tidy keeper. But he fell out of favour. David Lloyd was captain at that when I first started, and David Lloyd was after. They'd been the old guard, had done well in the early 70s under Jack Bond and won Gillette Cups and won great one day side with Harry Pillin and that, Clive, and great names, great teams. We probably grew up watching them, a lot of us. I know the younger lads won, but we certainly did our age.
Yeah.
And David Lloyd was keen to kind of bring in some new, younger blood, really, and that's how I got my chance. And in 1980, I started the season as first choice keeper. And up to August, I was actually leading the statistics, the leading keeper for that season. That was probably me as good as it got, really, 1980. That's when I broke my thumb. Imran Khan broke my thumb at Old Trafford. I went in as night watchman. And him and Garth LaRue from Sussex were really quick. Imran Khan had been a little trundler before then, and he came back and put on about 3 yards of pace, 3 or 4 yards of pace, and he frightened me to death. And he pinned my thumb against me bat, broke my thumb, and that finished my season that particular year. And if I'm honest with you, I never really got back to that same level.
So in 1980, Chris, you'd have been 20?
20, I had 20 going on 21. I turned 21 in September, so I was 20 during that.
Okay, I mean, I don't want to, because this fascinates me, and I know it will Joe Martin, but the vast majority of other listeners. One of your many stories in Lowerhouse dressing room when it was raining was about you padding up as a night watchman. Was that the game when you were 20, or was that?
That was the game when I broke my thumb. That was when. I went in on the Saturday night. They got 300 and plenty. Yeah. We were at a good side at that time. We were in that transitional period. As I say, the older players were just getting over the top. Your Barry Wood, your David Lloyd, Frank Hayes, great players. They were just going over the top, and us younger ones, we just weren't quite ready. Majority. Graham Fowler went on and did very well, and then Neil Fairbrother came a little bit later, and he stepped on again, if you remember. But we weren't a good side at that time. We struggled. And I went in as night watchman against Sussex at Old Trafford, and I managed somehow to survive the Saturday night. They got 300, and we were in a bit of trouble, let's say 30 for 3. I was in as night watchman and managed to survive. And in those days, on the Sunday, you played a John Player League game, 40 over game on the Sunday. Yeah. And we went back Monday morning to carry on I didn't play in the one day. I was left out because of the battle. But went back on the Monday morning, and in the nets beforehand, we were throwing a tennis ball at me. What are you doing there, Stan?
He's drinking a bottle.
What's he drinking there? Antifreeze?
Oh, bottle.
And I was ducking and diving in the nets and practicing. And about the third ball, I got hit by him and broke my thumb. Yeah. And it was bent straight back. Obviously a mess. And we had a private clinic in John Street, and I was quite glad to get off, to be honest. And I went to this private clinic on John Street in Manchester, a beautiful place, and I'm sat in the waiting room, and my thumb's throbbing like mad. It's bent backwards. It's a right stay. And they go over to Old Trafford on Piccadilly Radio, and over to Matt Proctor for the latest at Old Trafford, Sussex v Lancashire v Sussex. And Matt Proctor says Lancashire are in all sorts of trouble here. They're 65 for 7. Chris Scott's retired hurt. But the word from the dressing room is he might bat later on. And I'm sat there in the waiting room, and I'm speaking to this lady who doesn't know, I've got my whites on, it's just thought I'd escaped from a lunatic asylum. And I'm sat there in cricket whites, and this surgeon said, "Oh no, he isn't. He ain't going back. There's no way he's going back." I said, "No way, he's not going back. He's not going back." Anyway, I got back to the ground, and they put this big brace on my thumb, like a big splint, and I look, God knows what I look like. And Graham Lloyd was only a young lad, and he was sat in the dressing room, and they wound me up and said, "You're going to have to go out, Scotty. We need you. We need to save the follow-on. You're going to have to go out." And they had me padded up with my left arm behind my back. Graham Lloyd's size 4 bat, his child bat, in the dressing room, throwing tennises at me. And I'm looking out of the way. And you got Imran Khan and Garth LaRue bowling about 90 odd mile an hour. And it was all a wind up, and I fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. That was the kind of humour I grew up with, you know. So
that was the story, Chris, and I mean, Stan, I'll bring you in a minute just about that story. Honestly, Joe Martin, I mean Dooch as well. But if there was a break in play, in the first team game in the Lancashire League, we'd go into the dressing room, and it would be, let's throw a ball around the dressing room, let's get the cards out. Stan or Andy Mack would say to Scotty, "Come on, Scotty, tell us
the story."
Scotty,
You're all true. You're all true.
I'm not in the mood. But eventually, and he would, that story you just told now, it would take him an hour and a half to tell it. And
You're doing actions and everything.
Gordon, send Morehouse to save the house.